Everyone on the stage yesterday and the day before has pretty much the exact same position I have on all those issues. President Obama says he has the same position I have on gay marriage. So people always talk about the only difference is between myself and any of them is that when someone asks me a question, I answer it. Okay? I don't go out and in my speeches go out and talk about these issues. They're important issues. Marriage, I do talk about family. I do talk because I think family is important, and I think marriage is important for children to have strong families and as the foundational element of our community. Absolutely, I think it's essential for the economy. If we don't have strong families, you can't really have a strong economy over the long term. Why? Well, because poverty rates go way up when marriages break down. Whether it's through divorce or out of wedlock birth, you have much higher rates of poverty and economic stress in single-parent families. Not because moms aren't doing the best they can. They're doing heroic work, but they're doing the work of two people, and it's harder. And we all understand that. We recognize that, and that's why we have a lot of programs to support them, but they're government programs. And so government gets bigger. And so there are legitimate reasons to lay these out, and I always find it interesting that people say, well, that's an extreme position. Marriage between a man and a woman is now an extreme position? I don't think so in most Americans' eyes. I mean, they certainly want, as I do, people who have different lifestyles to be able to live their lives and to be able to have the freedom to be able to work and to live with whoever they want to live with. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about changing laws, and so I don't see that candidly as a big. I think we need someone that is a stark contrast to the president on the issues of the day that are central to our country, and that it does include some social issues. I think life is one of those central issues. But it also includes the economic package that we put together and the view of building a great country from the bottom up. And it does include families in some respect. The Obama administration, I was talking to Bill Bennett the other day on his radio show, and his wife Elaine has a program called Best Friends. And this Best Friends program helps at-risk teen girls to avoid pregnancies and to learn the values that are necessary to get through high school and because why? Well, because of all of the problems that come with teenage pregnancies, and we all know them. And so there are programs out there to try to help avoid these pregnancies. Well, she has this program, and it gets some funding from the federal government. But Obama has just come down and said, the administration has come down and said, you can no longer teach abstinence as a preferred method of dealing with out-of-wedlock birth, and that all of them are the same, and you have to teach all of them, and you can't prefer one over the other. And they said you can't teach marriage. You can't tell children that it's best to wait until you're married, because marriage is simply one of a variety of different alternative lifestyles, all of which are similar to any other. Now, I get a kick out of this, because I'm told by a lot of people all the time, Santorum, quit trying to impose your ideas on everybody else. Quit trying to impose your morality on everybody else. What's that? Is that not imposing their morality on everybody else? So, the fact of the matter is, all of these things are moral choices. And so what I believe is what our founders believed. Bring all of these issues. I mean, we're going to have, there are programs out there, and they're going to get some funding from some level of government. Why? Because government has an interest in making sure that these social pathologies that lead to poverty and lead to all sorts of other problems are limited. And so I would prefer churches and families and things like that to get together and do it. That would be ideal. But we tax these folks so much that they end up, with the inability to be able to provide that nurturing environment. Having said that, it is the best way to solve these problems. There was I talk about it in my book I wrote called It Takes a Family. And I talked about a program in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where they realized in Chattanooga that they had the highest divorce rate, like the highest out-of-wedlock birth rate, and the highest rate of single parenthood. in the state. And they were saying, well, we can't let this happen. We got to do something about this. Did the government get involved? No. Churches, educators, business people, community leaders, and they formed an organization, nonprofit, locally funded, to help reduce all of these things. And they worked in the schools, where they actually talked about marriage and the value of marriage from an economic point of view, from a point of view of, there's all sorts of studies out there. The happiest people in America are who? People who are married. By far happier, on a variety of different scales. So they talk about what can lead to true fulfillment and happiness. They talk about economically. Who are the economically most stable in America? People who are married. Right? Why? Because you have two people helping each other out, so it's less vulnerable than out there paddling alone. And so it makes just realistic economic and social sense to promote something that is an intrinsic value of society. And they started doing that in Chattanooga. They started counseling men to get back involved in their children's lives and a whole host of other things. They advertised. They did all sorts of great, and they reduced all of these pathologies by 25 to 40% in about a 3-year period of time. So can we and should we be doing these things? Yes. Preferably government not, but government is, and they're teaching the wrong things. So as far as electability, you go back and look at at what I've been able to accomplish in winning elections in election years where a Republican has a chance of winning, which wasn't the last year I ran. But in all the other election years where we had a chance, we were able to get a lot of voters, independents and blue-collar Democratic voters, because we stood up for those traditional values, and because people didn't agree with me. I can't tell you the number of people here today, because I see some friends who are here, who didn't agree with me on those issues, but they voted for me even though they didn't agree with me. Why? Because they knew I believed what I believed. And I wasn't just saying it for saying it. And very few people in America expect you to agree with them on every issue in order to get their vote. I mean, we can't all run for president. We have to take something less than ourselves as president. And therefore, they tend to sort of measure things up. And as long as they know they can trust you, that you're not doing this for some reason other than the fact you think it's what's right and what's best, people in America will give you a little bit of latitude.